Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is Encom Media. We are your hosts. My name is Ocean Subiano.
I'm Taylor Vieira.
Today we're bringing to you our weekly breakdown of Andor's episode. We are on episode 10, ladies and gentlemen. 10 episodes. And boy, this is one you're going to want to stick around for because there's a lot to talk about. Very exciting episode. And I'm very curious to see what Taylor has to say about it. So you guys should stick around as well. Do this in traditional fashion, right? Spoiler free section, scores, spoilers. Okay, so if you have not seen this episode, I personally highly recommend that you see it first before you get into the spoilers with us. Right, so check out the episode, check out the series. If you guys haven't seen the series yet, I do recommend it as a whole. Right, like overall, I'd say still like the series isn't done. There's still 2 more episodes, but you know if this is the first one of our Andor breakdowns that you guys have come across, check out the rest of this season. Check out the rest of our episodes. We have an episode covering every Andor episode that has come out yet. So without further ado, spoiler free section. Am I crazy to say that this was the best episode of the season? Or are we still, maybe the heist gives it a run for its money, but
no, I would say this is better than the heist, but it's still similar.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed Andy Serkis's performance, Andor's performance. I really enjoyed this episode. When I was watching it, this is the feeling that I was waiting for from a Star Wars show. You know what I mean? Like I was waiting for this to get me hyped like it did in this episode, and we'll talk about specifically why it got me so hyped. But how did you feel about this episode without any spoilers?
This is definitely one of the much better episodes for this show. It's like I said, that's why it's kind of similar to the heist in that it's not what I would consider like a boring episode. It actually has stuff going on. And it's got, actual, I would say much more progress that actually gets, made in this episode versus most of the middle ones.
Yeah. And I think there's some very specific things that happen in this episode that we've talked about some things in our past episodes, things that we weren't really happy with, or that you weren't happy with. And I think that this episode kind of I don't want to say fixes it, but just kind of for your specific things, at least make it a little bit better, I think. And I'll talk about them in the spoiler-free section. So as far as the score goes, I'm giving this a very solid 8. Very solid 8. I can't quite go 9 yet, just because I'm the only thing that is a little bit for me personally, I just what's next? You know what I mean? If we got what we got from this episode, what's happening after this for the last 2 episodes? That's the only reason why I'm giving this an 8. Other than that, if I didn't have that feeling, if this was a season finale, I might give it a 9. But for me, this is a very solid 8.
That's honestly a good point. Especially with the way this show has been going, it's there's nothing they can do in 2 episodes. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to be completely shifting the
pace.
Yeah, the pace of the show dramatically. Yeah. So,
which we can talk about. So, what is your score? I'm giving it a solid 8.
I would give this episode a 7.
All right, that's a drastic improvement from last episode for you. So, I like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I really enjoyed this episode. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you check out the episode. It's a really good watch for this series. So check it out, and then once you guys finish that episode, come back and let's finish out these spoilers. And real quick, just want to shout out to everybody that's watching our videos. We've been getting a lot of views lately, and I really appreciate it. And we're really trying to continue to bring you guys what you like. So please let us know down in the comments. What do you guys like this? What have you guys enjoying this series? We look forward to hearing from you. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is your official
spoiler alert.
All right. So, I really enjoyed this episode, man. I thought that everything that happens and like I said, Andy Serkis's or Kino's performance was, in my opinion, really good, and it gave me that feeling of like, I'll call it Star Wars hype, like just got me hyped about some Star Wars stuff. So I don't know, I don't really know how to like I guess put it into words much more than that, but it got me so hyped. The whole Prison Break, well, for the years hasn't jumping out. The Prison Break happened this episode, which when we were talking about it, we were expecting the Prison Break to be like the finale, right?
Right.
But it wasn't. We got the Prison Break this episode due to their timeline being advanced, right? They were feeling like, all right, if we don't do it now, then we're never getting out, kind of thing. So we got it. We got the Prison Break. It was successful. Andor made it out. We don't really know if Kino made it out.
I mean, it's seemingly successful. We don't really know
true.
If anybody
They're still on the
actually
planet.
makes it out.
They're still on the planet.
They get out of the prison,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean they survive.
They take over the prison. They make it out of the prison. They make it to land. But yeah, we don't know where what happens from there. Maybe that's what the next two episodes will be, is them like getting off the planet now. You know what I mean? Like figuring that part out.
Maybe getting in touch with everybody else.
Right. Yeah. Maybe now he can call for help from, I don't know, Ferrix or Luthen or I don't know. We'll see. Let's talk about the Prison Break. Let's talk about specifically a few things that we kind of had problems with in the prior episodes leading up to the Prison Break. One of them specifically talking about the panel in the bathroom with the pipe that they were cutting through. I actually don't mind what it ended up being. The way they portrayed it before was like what we said. It was just like, come on, like really, like, you're gonna cut through that, and we just happen to know that's the cord you need to cut to stop the lift. But instead, it ended up being a water pipe that they busted in order to flood the floor, essentially, and then thus causing a short circuit when they turn on the floor, and then burning out the electronics.
Which is still really weird to me, of how, like, a lot of the details in this Prison Break, even though I enjoy that we got it, there's still a lot of details about it that doesn't make sense to me, and it's kind of just like brushed over. Let's it is a water pipe, and like they do basically use it just to short circuit the power, so that you had a little bit of time to attack the guards or whatever. Yeah, but it doesn't really make sense to me, because that floor must be getting a very, very high amount of power current flowing through it, which means that it's probably connected to a main generator. Yeah. And for it to be shut down doesn't really affect anything except for that floor. All the lights and everything else was just fine. And it was a little weird.
It kind of makes sense though, but like if you think about it from an electronics standpoint though, like if you're building something like that, you're going to put fuses and relays and checks in place so for that exact reason, right? Because that floor is capable of killing people, capable of producing enough current to kill people, it does need a very large power source, right? Like you said. And it would make sense that it's connected to whatever their main generator, main battery, whatever it is. And any good electrician or good architect would build safeguards in place so that if there was a gigantic short circuit power surge headed back towards the generator, it's going to trip a fuse or trip a relay or something, just like what happens in your house or in your car, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you just knock a transformer or something, your entire system is fucked.
Like, are you talking about like power?
So
like
a
power
large
grid?
Power source. Not, I don't mean because a car battery. I mean, it's not small by any means, but in relative to building structures, very small compared to.
So if we relate it to like a power grid, right? And let's say this transformer right outside my house goes down, it's the same thing. There are fuses at like down the line each way that are supposed to trip and cut off power to this section. What that section looks like in this particular design is just up for, interpretation, I guess.
Right, which is, like I said, it's just kind of convenient that everything else except the floor gets deactivated.
Right. Or you mean the other way around? The floor gets deactivated. The floor is
the only thing that gets deactivated, but everything else is totally
chill.
fine.
Yeah.
On top of that, like, I know they like really just rely on the fact that they say like, oh, the guards like don't care and stuff. Right. The fact that like all these prisoners just hiding weapons and everything, which you can clearly see when they're standing there.
Right.
Just to be like, attack, and start chucking shit at them, which, I mean, most of the stuff that's really actually going to do anything is probably not going to, like, fly very far.
Right.
I'm sure that shit's heavy as fuck.
Right.
Unless they got really close, but if you got really close, then really they should have just shot them, which the two guards are just clearly idiots for some stupid reason, somehow get overtaken by everybody. Totally ignore Cassian, by the way. This entire time he's just doing everything. Yeah. Like they clearly saw him start the whole thing. Right. Like he stopped the lift, rushed the first guard, right? Or tried to help the guy, and then him and the new prisoner beat up that one guard on the lift.
Right.
And then they just ignore him the entire time while everybody else is just not really doing a whole lot to like bother them or hurt them or whatever. And then so they just kind of don't really shoot anybody. I mean, they shoot some, but it's not really a significant amount. And then on top of that, once they get to the top, for some reason, the Empire is like, you know what? We'll just coincidentally only have like 3 dudes here stationed at this post. Wide open door. So like you can just like, if you escaped, you can just clearly walk through these doors because, you don't have checkpoints or whatever. You don't want to lock every single door.
Right.
And then on top of that, they're like, you know what? What's an even better idea? Let's place a fully stacked armory
at each door
for these prisoners in case they break out to start an army, which also, for some reason, are just everybody's just soldiers all of a sudden and just clearly like destroy the guards like with their picking up the guns and just magically know how to shoot it. Like not everybody knows how to use a weapon, right? Clearly,
it's a little bit believable to me because they're prisoners and most of them did something to get in prison, right? And I would imagine most of them like being able to use
a lot of the ones that they not emphasize but kind of hints towards in this show are not in there for a reason. Because he says when Cassian first get there, and he's like, "Oh, what did you do?" And he's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Yeah, we've been getting a lot of that now
lately." Yeah.
So I would assume that most of them don't do anything, and they're just targeted for no stupid reason. Probably no different than in real life. Yeah. People that just get unjustly
in the wrong
arrested
place at the wrong time. Yeah.
And then even some whatever criminals that were rightfully there, the likelihood of like a large portion of them just automatically doing that is still kind of weird.
I mean, in the Star Wars world, though, the blaster, like the ability to use a blaster is pretty common. Like it's a very common thing. So I
using
get
a
what you're
blaster
saying,
does not imply that you actually are skilled with a blaster. Right. That is very commonly shown in Star Wars. Right. That most people are not skilled with blasters.
Yeah,
even the people, and then it's very inconsistent too. Because even with stormtroopers, right? You'll have one movie where they're like, "Oh, only a stormtrooper could have done that," and then the next second they're just garbage.
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's whatever they need for that particular movie.
Yeah. And
in this case, the guards are just overwhelmed, scared, and not like they're not willing. I get they're trained. They got to be trained, right? Because they have to have some kind of formal training. But it just seemed like those guards, in general, just didn't care. They just didn't care. They didn't want to be there. And so then when something did go down, they're just like, all right, I'm not going to try and maintain order. I'm not going to try and like do my actual job. I'm just going to We're just gonna try and survive, and they all just hid in a closet, basically.
Yeah, which is super weird for a huge group of them to do that.
It is weird. I mean, it's hard because they make a big point about the fact that the guards in this episode, a big reason why they chose to accelerate their timeline and do it already is for two reasons. One, because unfortunately Olaf died, and so in order for their plan to work, they needed to do it while there was a new man coming on the floor, right?
Yeah, or that's their highest.
Right,
chance.
that's the ideal way to do their prison break. And then the second thing, and so since Olaf is gone, they're going to replace him, right? So that they know somebody's coming soon. And then the second thing was that because of the incident on level 2, where a bunch of people got fried because they're trying to keep it quiet, they realized that they don't have enough guards at the place to maintain order if something like this were to happen. And Cassian makes a very big point of being like, hey, like, we need to do this now, because if we wait, then they're going to realize that they don't have enough manpower here to subdue an insurrection, and if we wait, they're going to send more people, and then at that point it's going to be even harder, and our chances are going to go farther down. So they're like, all right, we're just going to do it now so that we have the best chances possible.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the manpower. It's just we just assume that they don't. Like, what they show is clearly enough manpower to stop whatever they did in the show. It's just,
well, they're just afraid. The individual person chose not to do their job, essentially.
well, but it wasn't just one person. Literally,
No, that's what I mean.
all
But
of
each,
them.
yeah. But because enough each individual person's made that decision, now they don't have enough. Now as a collective, they're not strong enough to subdue the insurrection. I enjoyed how fast they climbed the stairs. There's that one scene of them like climbing stairs, and then they look up and there's like 50 flights of stairs, and then
It's not even just literally this entire. So these prisoners. Again, like I said, I don't know. This whole escape, like, it's so
Sweep
little
and clear.
ridiculous. Not only that, they know exactly the entire facility. Like, they
Yeah.
just go straight to the control room,
Right.
overtake it, and then for some reason, they knew where it was, but they're like, oh, we don't know how to use anything. What does this do? Blah, 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 blah. And they had to, like, argue or, like, threaten the dudes. It's like, how did you find this room?
Yeah.
Like, this place looks like a massive maze.
It does
and
look like a maze.
You just know how to walk through
Everything is
straight
white.
here.
There's no signs.
That's because you've probably only been in like
a couple hallways.
less than like 2% of this facility.
Yeah.
But you knew exactly where to go.
No, that's a fair point. I'll be honest though, I was able to look past a lot of those finer details that don't necessarily make sense, because I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the adrenaline rush of watching them escape. Again, this is to back up my point of Andy Serkis. Like, I know you kind of made fun of the whole attack thing, like of them throwing stuff. And the actual act of them throwing things at the guards is kind of comical. But I don't know. For me, when Andy Serkis like looked up and screamed attack, I was like, okay, let's go. Like, I was ready to attack, and I was just watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that he's a great actor and all, but that doesn't excuse the act of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it was enough. For me, it was enough to look past that, focus on Andy Serkis, focus on the good parts, and then I knew we were gonna sit down and break it down. So I just, in the moment, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna enjoy this for what it is. I'm gonna watch the good stuff,
Yeah,
and then when we
which
talk
is
about
fine.
it, we can start poking holes in it.
It's the same thing with Marvel.
Right.
99% of you, like, people go out there and watch the movies. I know we saw it this weekend.
Right.
It's just filled with people. Anytime Marvel comes out, same thing.
Yeah.
All the stupid humor, action, just everybody just eats that shit up, and then
Yeah.
they just ignore everything else.
Which is okay, but like, I think it's important that we have these kinds of conversations. That's why we're doing this for you guys, so that you can hear, after the initial like, after the initial impact wears off, then we can start poking holes and being like, okay, was this actually as good as it seemed like it was in the moment, or could it have been better?
It just depends who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, and at this point, for at this point in the story with Andor and the way things are going, yes, there's some holes that we could poke in this sequence of events of the prison break. But I'm good with it. I'm good. I'm good with the way it happened. It progresses the story. It gives us something exciting, something that like I said, got my heart pumping, and now, like, I don't know what's coming next, and I talked about it before the spoiler section, and this is part of the reason why I'm a little cautious about my score, but I don't know what's coming next, and that's kind of foreboding to me. Like, I don't really know what they're gonna do for the last 2 episodes, because like you said, the way that the pace is going, it seems like we're getting like 2 or 3 episodes of build up / development filler episodes, and then we're getting a big thing, right?
Yeah.
But like now we only got 2 episodes, so is it just going to be 2 episodes of filler? Are we going to get a development episode and then get a finale? If so, what does that finale look like? Like, what is it going to be?
I'm gonna be honest. I kind of expecting the season to end kind of poorly.
Like this was the peak, and now the last 2 episodes are just going to be on like a downhill slope to end. I mean, the season.
Even if they like, well, the thing is just like, what can you do to really? Because now it's like, okay, now we have the next step for maybe, well, I don't know. He kind of like, when he's left off, he just sits in the facility because he can't swim. Even though there's just like hundreds of dudes next to you that could just help you swim.
Yeah.
I guess nobody cares because they're all assholes. So
I think Andor would have, figured out a way to make sure he got off, but he got knocked into the water, so he couldn't. But
so we don't know really what's gonna happen to him.
Yeah.
And so we're just waiting for the next step, I guess, for Cassian. And then on top of that, it's like, well, you still have all these other side characters. What can you do for them on top of that? And
none of the other storylines are at a point where there's anything major that we're anticipating. So maybe they could throw in something crazy that we're not anticipating at all, but that, to me, isn't really great storytelling. So I don't think they're gonna do that, and none of the other storylines are at a place where they have something to make a big finale out of.
Yeah, I mean,
right, because let's talk about it, because there's a couple things that I wanted to kind of go over, right? We could kind of talk about, we'll start with this one, just because it's one of the lesser ones, as always, but there's a meeting between Mon Mothma and, I don't remember the mercenary dude's name or whatever.
I don't remember his name either.
He's a fence / drug dealer / bad dude, shady guy from her world that she knows of.
Yeah, he's he's a crime boss.
Right, yeah. And then Tay is facilitating this meeting between them so that he can help Mon Mothma have a more fluid financial banking situation. And then they have this conversation, which I'll admit the conversation wasn't bad. Like, it's good. It was good writing. And this dude wants to help, or he's willing to help Mon Mothma in exchange for her setting up a meeting between his young son and her young daughter.
Yep.
And at that point, Mon Mothma just completely shuts down. It's like, no. I guess there's some Chandlerland traditions where, like, there could be arranged marriages sometimes. Or just like if you're introduced to somebody at a certain stage, you're kind of expected to at least like court them maybe or something. They didn't really go too far into detail.
I mean, they don't specify it. Yeah. It seems like they just have arranged marriages.
Oh, shit. Yeah, something like that, right? So it's we're not really sure what that is, but she just completely shuts down. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. She tells him to leave, get out, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Like, part of me is like, yeah, good on you. That's the right thing to do. Don't sell your daughter essentially for help with the rebel cause.
Yeah.
But also, like, and this might be controversial to some people, but also, like, daughter is, like, basically doesn't, like, think she's her mom and her husband. Like, they're, like, she's, like, not even family at this point.
Like they're just terrible.
So it's kind of just like, I mean, if it's just a meeting, I mean, because they don't specify that, like, he specifically says, like, oh, I'm not asking you to, like, betroth your daughter to my son. I just want them to meet. And I get why she's hesitant, because the mother should be, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, if it's just a meeting, like, and your daughter don't like you anyway, like,
yeah, I don't know.
I
don't really care, because they are assholes, like her family members.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't like, even being so, I still wouldn't do that, just because.
No, I mean,
it's just weird, but I mean, I guess if you're just really for the rebellion, sure. Like, you know, you want to really fight for the cause.
Well, I mean, just like Vel says, right? Where the cause comes first, we can pick up whatever's left after.
Yeah. They say that all the time. They don't do shit, though.
Yeah. I know.
She's full of shit.
I don't know. I know it was a little bit of a controversial thought, but that's just like, when I was watching it, I was like, she hates you, so, I mean.
Fuck it.
Yeah, like, I mean,
yeah.
At least, like, it's something,
Yeah, at least that might make it, like,
yeah.
Maybe make this whole fucking arc interesting or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
At least
because nothing happens ever.
Yeah, and that's all we get, ladies and gentlemen. We don't get anything else. Like, we don't get anything else on that arc. We don't get anything on the Ferrix arc. Like, anything about Ferrix.
Nothing in.
Oh, no, that's not true.
You just see a little bit.
We just see, like, a scene.
Yeah, you just get a couple shots of
right?
Cinta.
Yeah, we see Cinta, like, following some doctor that obviously is heading to Cassian's mom or whatever.
Yeah.
And
but nothing like.
They're talking about how, like, Cassian's mom is acting weird or whatever. But it's still nothing specific.
Yeah, nothing of importance yet.
Yeah. So I don't. That was kind of neither here nor there for me. And then we get nothing on Cyril, right? I don't remember anything about Cyril.
I think we do see Luthen, right?
Right. So that was the last thing that I was going to talk about, but we don't get anything on Cyril and his stalker life, whatever he's doing now.
His new thing.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe he has a shrine in his room now or something. I don't know. But we don't get anything on that. And all, like, that storyline. There's, like, I was having this conversation with my dad the other day, and he was talking to me about how he kind of likes this Cyril storyline because he's a conflicted character that has all this other stuff. And, you know, my dad, he's actually like in the movie industry, so, like, he has kind of a different perspective than us. And but I was just like, nah, Dad, like, sorry, but, like, I can see that up until the point, and then he crossed that point, and he crossed the point where it went from a conflicted character, like, weird arc thing to just straight creepy, straight, like, just you're a stalker dude that I don't know what we're doing with.
What is all that he likes about that character?
Just like kind of what I said in the last episode, where his story arc at a certain point, like in the beginning, it kind of made sense what they were doing, and you could kind of foresee what they were trying to do with Cyril, right? They're trying to make him this, like, underarching theme that he's, you know, slowly recovering and rebuilding from his defeat, and then at the end he'll come back to present Andor with a final challenge, essentially. And that's the thing that my dad likes, and my dad, he likes just the confliction in him, but, like, what I don't like is it got to a point where, like, now he's doing stalker things and is, like, in love with Miro, and
his confliction, it changes, though.
No, you're right, it does.
So the idea, I guess, makes sense, but
to
how
a certain
can you
point.
Support it when it constantly changes?
No, and that was my point to him. I was like, you're right, until he starts switching from, like,
and it's
caring
like
about
really fast, like, back and, like, changing it too.
Yeah. And I don't agree with it. And then I kind of, you know, he kind of started to agree with me, but my point is that I just, especially since we only have 2 episodes left in the season, unless they're saving his storyline for a future season, I just don't. To me, there's no way you're going to be able to do anything with him in this season. And so
honestly,
I would just rather not see him at all for the rest of the season.
I'm going to be honest. I kind of just want him to just get cut.
Yeah.
There's the thing is,
I don't know what they can do.
I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain there's nothing you can do to completely change my opinion on this character.
Yeah.
Because no matter what you change in another season, because it ain't happening in these 2 episodes.
No,
we're going to see
not.
more, but it ain't going to change anything.
Right.
So, in a future season, there is nothing that you're going to do that is going to ultimately cover up or like make everything that's happened in this season okay.
Yeah. No,
even if it's
agree.
like, okay, now we're back to what I like.
Right.
That still makes it bad because then you just had a whole season of trash.
It's just like, why? Why did you guys make him go so far down?
And then just like, you know what?
And they were like,
just
actually,
forget all that. Like,
yeah. No, I agree with you.
We know that's not going to happen.
No.
Because, come on.
Yeah,
writers, you're way too proud to be doing that kind of stuff. So you're gonna stick to what you got and probably push that even further.
Yeah, you're just gonna keep going down, down.
You just gotta commit.
Yeah, maybe like our thumbnail from the last episode. Maybe he really is gonna end up being like a serial killer, stalker kind of dude.
And the thing is, right? You know, if they just commit,
maybe it might.
It's not gonna make it better, but at least it'll make it entertaining. Like it might be.
Well, it'll give us the satisfaction of being like, yeah, this was a bad character, bad storyline. Let's just like we'll finish the storyline and just push it to the side, and we'll just try to forget it ever happened.
Kill him off.
Yeah,
like, find a way.
Just get rid of
do
him.
it. Yeah, or just literally never mention him again.
that would work.
Like just give us another scene of Lieutenant Merrill, just like.
Being like, hey,
he's just gone. Yeah. Like he got arrested. He's sent off to like some faraway federal prison or whatever.
Yeah,
and just gone, deleted.
Yeah, no, I would not be opposed to that. And then the last, we'll call it a side storyline that we'll talk about because this scene is actually, I don't know, I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on it because it might help me formulate my thoughts, but it's this
You're talking about
this scene with Luthen. So I know that in the last episode breakdown I had proposed the idea that Lieutenant Merle was possibly a double agent, like a really deep-seated deep cell double agent, and that she may be helping out the Rebel Alliance. Now I'm pretty sure that based off of what happens in this scene and this exchange between Luthen and another Imperial ISB lieutenant, that point is now wrong, just irrelevant. Like I'm wrong. I'm wrong essentially. Because there's another ISB lieutenant that we see a couple times throughout the season,
you see him in the background.
And he has a few, like he's a big part of what they end up doing with the ship that they and the rebel like pilot that they end up capturing and whatnot. He's a big part of like determining what to do with that, and we have a couple scenes, a couple lines from him. But then it turns out that dude is in fact a double agent and is working for Luthen to supply Luthen intel, and Luthen supplies him intel. So we have this scene of the dude like, doing spy stuff to get a loan or whatever in a city like, or a planet like Coruscant. And they end up in this like dark alleyway.
It's just like a bottom level elevator shaft. Sub-level thing. I don't know.
And the guy, the ISB lieutenant, essentially is just telling Luthen like, hey, here's my last few pieces of information. There's this new player on the scene, Lieutenant Miro, who is like tryhard essentially, and like there's this and that, and he tells Luthen all this stuff, and then he's like, I want out. Right? He's like, I have a daughter now. I want out. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I've given enough. And then Luthen kind of is just like, nah, you're mine. Like, and this, I want to know what you thought about what Luthen said and how he responded to specifically the guy's statement of like, he said, "Have I not sacrificed enough?" And then he asked Luthen, what have you sacrificed? And then Luthen goes on in my opinion, a pretty epic monologue. But I want to know what your thoughts are on how Luthen handles this scene.
I mean, I think it's fine. Like, I thought he did a really good job. So did the.
But how does it
lieutenant.
change your perception of Luthen? Does it make you think differently about him at all?
Not really. It's just how do I put it? I don't know. It just seemed like a reasonable response to me, like from a more, I guess, involved and like serious person.
Right. Well, so to me, what the biggest thing that this conversation does is it confirms or certifies that Luthen is not necessarily a good guy, but he has good intentions and he is working towards a good cause, but he's the kind of person that's willing to do, we'll call it risky or edgy things to accomplish that goal, right? And we've gotten that picture a little bit from other things that have been done or said throughout the series, but this is his I don't want to say coming out party because that doesn't really make any sense, but like this is him being like, hey, like I'm just gonna accept who I am and the fact that like I'm not Mr. Good Guy, this and that. Like I'm here to do what's necessary to accomplish the goal that we have, and you're not.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, and I just don't remember from the last time I watched it. But I never got anything. I don't remember him saying anything that like related to him doing bad things. It was just him basically. I don't want to say glorifying, but justifying his faith for the cause.
Yeah. I don't have direct quotes for you because the only
thing I remember him really saying when he's just like, "Oh, what have you sacrificed?" It vaguely to me was like basically like, "Oh, I've given like my family and blah blah blah,
like
stuff
any
like
chance
that."
Of love,
yeah, all the
stuff.
Like normal things that like if you're in the military, you kind of in a sense do that anyways. Like it's kind of a given. So him being this super important rebel,
leader,
counterintelligence like kind of officer, it makes sense to me. It wasn't really like a dark thing. It was
I don't mean that he is like saying he's gonna do bad stuff. I just mean that he does the dirty work, right? Like he's the dirty work guy. Like I don't really know how to explain it. Like it's like Andor, like what we know Andor to be during Rogue One, right? Like he's all for the cause, he's a rebel through and through, but he's the one that does the dirty work, and may have to kill somebody here and there in order to achieve his mission. And this is just like, to me, the monologue was Luthen being like, all right, like I think I'm done trying to be this. I don't know if it's gonna be him being done trying to be the double life kind of thing, or if this was just him confirming to himself, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do the what needs to be, what's necessary.
Yeah, I'm not sure. To me, it just sounded kind of like he was just, I don't know, like just letting it out to this guy, like venting basically,
a little bit.
But it doesn't really like change the situation. The only thing that changes is this guy that he's talking to, because he's basically telling him like, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because if you do, well, they can't really just let you go.
Right.
Like
right.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
You gotta,
once you're in, you're in.
You gotta cut all or burn all your loose ends,
Right.
Like Ghost.
Yeah. Or John Wick. Baby. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do for the last 2 episodes. Maybe you guys have some ideas of what they could possibly do for a finale. I don't know what's going to be worse. What would be worse for you? Either a half-assed like accelerated storyline to produce some sort of finale, or just a slow decline in quality of episode to the end of the season? What would be worse for you? I think a half-assed attempt to make a finale.
They're both bad, but yeah, I guess worse would be changing it,
changing the pace.
Then you're just at least then you can say you're consistent.
You want to at least be able to say you were consistent with your pace throughout the season, with the intent of continuing next season, right? Okay, well, hopefully that's not what they do, or maybe we're just missing something. Maybe like, I don't know what we're missing, because we talk about it every week, but like,
I don't know. Yeah,
maybe
I could just
maybe
just
there
be beyond
is
me.
Yeah,
like I
maybe
don't know,
we're just not.
I know you guys are out there too.
Yeah,
because the one guy we got in our last video, he really did not like my opinion on this show, but apparently this show is just the best thing ever.
It is. I do think it is a good show. It is a solid show.
I never said it was a bad show.
I know.
But that's the thing that's so stupid to me, is everybody gets so butthurt about opinions, even though it's not even like a negative opinion.
Well, everybody, like, I think that guy in particular was just like, this is a 10 out of 10 show, but you gave it a 7.
It was so funny. It's like,
yeah, but it sounds like we
I don't
gave
want
it
to
a 2.
sound like a fanboy. Tell me you're a fanboy without telling me you're a fanboy.
Yeah. No, this episode, or this season is good. But what we're doing here...
Well, so far it's good.
What we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is like I said earlier in the episode, we're just poking holes. We're having the conversation and fleshing out what we've seen according to our perspective and our knowledge. And it's important to have that conversation. And kudos to that guy for putting his 2 cents in. Like, okay, you really like the show, and I would hope that if you guys do want to comment and maybe refute some of our ideas or some of our thoughts, please do. But maybe like give us something, right? Like talk about like why. Don't just say like, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about, or you guys like you're wrong. But let us know. Like,
I don't mind being wrong.
Sure.
But if you're gonna tell me that this is world-class storytelling, please explain to me how it is.
Explain to me how, like, what.
Especially if I'm giving you reasons why I don't think it is.
Right.
Then
give us reasons why you think it is.
Yeah.
And I just think that makes for better dialogue with our audience, which is what we want. We want better dialogue with you and more
if we are wrong,
interaction.
Then we'll know, and we'll be like, okay, maybe we need to
reevaluate
pay attention to this.
Yeah. And I promise you guys, that if you have, or if we are missing something and there's something that you can educate us on, I promise you that if you put it in the comments, I promise you that we will hear you out. And if you're right, I will retract what I said, and I will admit that I was wrong. And I'm not gonna stonewall you and be like, no, I'm right. Like, I'm not gonna be a stubborn idiot. Like
a lot of other people.
Yeah, like there are a lot of channels out there that are just like,
YouTubers that do that.
My letter is the law. Like, so if you guys are right,
the law.
Yeah. If you guys are right, I promise you that we will, like, I'll acknowledge it. I'll say, all right, I was wrong. Like, the way I saw it was wrong. I thank you for your point of view, and now I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then that's okay. So let us know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below, and of the season so far. What are you guys expecting for the next two episodes to do? And we look forward to hearing from you guys. We've got a lot of views lately, not too many comments, but I'm hoping that those increase, because I really do want to hear from you guys, and I want to be able to interact with you guys and have some dialogue. So thank you guys for being here. We'll be back next week with another, episode 11, and then the week after that with episode 12. So we'll be here, and we also have a lot of other genres and movies and TV shows of things that we review. So check those videos out as well. Please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Check us out on social media, Anykind Media Cast on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.